Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Opening Tee Podcast, where I get to, in this one at least, get to talk about the Sung Jae Im breakthrough. It has been a long time in the making, so excited to spend a minute or two talking about that. But if this is your first time joining, thanks for coming along on the journey. This is a two-part podcast, the Osmo Golf Podcast, where on this one here, I give you a quick recap of all the action from last week if you weren't able to see it or just want a quick little review from my eyes. And then I give you a intro into the week that will be. The Arnold Palmer Invitational this week is a great week, very good field, and the like. So, and then of course leading up to the Millionaire Maker of next week, and then a great stretch of golf, including the Masters and the match play. So, a lot to look forward to. Of course, leading up to the Masters and for all of March, these shows will be sponsored by Super Draft. And if you haven't tried out Super Draft's game, you've got to go on and try it out over there. The future of DFS is here. Come on over to Super Draft and make your dream lineup using their special, I shouldn't say special, their unique and only system, and only DFS place that does this, their unique multiplier scoring system where it allows you to pick anybody you want, but each player will have their own multiplier, and I have used that to my advantage quite a bit this week. Robbie Shelton was one of the guys that I loved, and he was a 1.75 multiplier, ended up scoring more points than a lot of people, and he only came in a tie for 15th. They also don't just do golf, they do all the sports. MLB coming up real soon, NBA, NHL, NFL, and the like. So head on over there and use promo code OSMO, and if you deposit more than $10, you're going to get 20 free OSMO bucks over there. So again, use promo code OSMO to deposit. Okay, so if this is your first one, if this is your first podcast, what I do is I go over the foursome of facts, where I give you 4 facts from the previous week. Just some highlights from golf around the world, at least that I'm looking into. I give you my high and low from my personal week in my results, and who I was picking and the like, and who was good, who was bad. Then I go in your not your average miscuts segment. I mean, it really is a fantastic segment. The content creates itself. Then I go into a statistical review from last week as we try and find maybe a couple of golfers that may be primed to have a good week this week here in Orlando. And then I go into Orlando. I give you a quick little intro about the field, about the course, and about the DFS contests that are already put out there. So let's dig right into my foursome of facts for the week. And I'm going to start off out in Oman, where Sami Valimaki gets it done. And if you've been following me for a while, I've been writing about this guy quite a bit. He obviously paid off a 275-1 winner. Now, I specified in my article that I didn't want to tip him again because I didn't want to sound redundant, but still a great payout for anybody who had been following along. He rode a hot putter and a good off the tee game. Did not really have a good approach game looking at his strokes gained numbers, so certainly another way to get it done. I'm sure the Twitter bots will be out in full force on that one. So now we'll go into Sung Jae Im. Sung Jae Im choked and then didn't choke on the 18th hole. If you guys didn't see it, he had a 91-yard shot in, hit it directly into the bunker. Had a tough shot out of the bunker, but put it to about 3 feet and made the putt. So he was able to post that 600 number after, really, he should have put a 91-yard shot. He should have put it at least in the middle of the green, let alone in the bunker. Tommy Fleetwood, though, then came up after draining a huge putt on 17, came to the 18th hole, and choked worse. He had a 238-yard shot in and tried to play a hero shot and win the golf tournament in regular time rather than giving himself a chance to win it in extra holes. But that's what you do. That's the payoff, and he ended up bogeying the hole. So, again, choking, that's kind of the theme there that I was going at. Now, my third one is, if you make the cut in a tournament like the Honda Classic, you've got a chance to win it. That's the type of golf that I like. The Masters does a great job at their cut rule, with being within 10 shots, but they also know that their golf course can allow somebody to get hot over the weekend and come back in the tournament. Sometimes in PGA Tour tournaments, you just don't see that. You see the course just too easy. And when a course is too easy, it's tough to pick up strokes. However, on the flip side, when a course is hard and playing difficult, if you go out and post good numbers, you've got a chance to win. And that's the type of golf tournament that I like. I really do hope they have a major here at PGA National. We saw Mackenzie Hughes post 66, and get into a tie for, not even a tie for second, second alone. That's a bunch of money and a bunch of FedEx Cup points for him. What a great weekend. Lastly, and it kind of ties in to the previous talking point. You don't need minus 28 golf for it to be fun. If you enjoy golf, you enjoy seeing them try and work their hardest. That was it, and a -6 winner, I don't care. It was just as much fun for me as the week before, or a couple weeks before when it was -26. In fact, those end up being a snooze fest when your guy's going to birdie every hole. I like it where you have to watch the holes. The holes that they need to birdie, and if they don't, that you're screwed. So, and if they make a birdie somewhere else, it's just kind of a benefit. So that was it. So let's now move into my high and low for the week. My low for the week was Brooks Koepka. My double low for the week was Brooks Koepka. And that's it. He totally screwed me. I'm not gonna lie. I had a late push to overweight Koepka instead of or more so than Fleetwood. I still had Fleetwood well over the field, but it did not matter. I had like 60% Koepka or 55%. And that just ruined most of my lineups. So I don't even need to talk about any other high or low. Robbie Shelton, who cares? Brooks Koepka was the 11,200. When your guy 11,200 and 60% misses the cut, you don't need to talk about anything else. It's going to be a bad week. I had one Tommy Fleetwood lineup that did get 6 of 6 and then $200. And I had a Sungjae Im 5 of 6 in the $100. So I was able to cash 2 of 5 big dollar lineups, but was not enough to break even, that's for sure. All right, let's head into the statistical review, because who wants to hear me wail about Brooks Koepka anymore? Not me, that's for sure. So first we're going to start out with strokes gained off the tee for the tournament, of course, and we're going to compare it to both driving accuracy and distance this week, see what we can find, see if we can find a little bit more correlation. Brendan Steele, Sepp Straka, Johnny Vegas, Shane Lowry, The Woods, Fleetwood and Westwood, Roy Sabatini, Matt McNeely, Kurt Kitayama, and Sungjae Im off the tee strokes gained. Start with driving accuracy. Chris Baker was 1. We had only Tommy Fleetwood as a crossover in Sungjae Im. Tommy Fleetwood and Sungjae Im. So 2 of the top 10 were crossovers there. And on the other side, we did have a few more. We had on the driving distance side, I had to pick up my place. Kurt Kitayama, Johnny Vegas. Actually, that might be it now that I'm scrolling up and down. So really not that much crossover from driving distance, that's for sure. Maybe a little bit in driving accuracy, but you needed a mixture of the two, it seems, to score well off the tee this week in terms of strokes gained. Okay, let's head into a strokes gained on the approach. Normally, versus a GIR, normally we do see a good correlation here. Russell Henley led the week. Gary Woodland, Adam Long, Luke Donald, Sungjae Im. No wonder why he won. Dan Berger, Cam Davis, Jason Duffner, and Matthew Nesmith. Versus Sepp Straka, Sungjae Im. So there's a crossover. Brendan Steele. Russ Henley, so another crossover. Fleetwood, McNeely, Long, another crossover. Varner, Jones, Woodland, another crossover. So yeah, I don't mean to sound redundant there. I apologize. It's just more likely that greens and regulation is going to have a higher correlation to the strokes gained on the approach, because to gain strokes gained on the approach, you got to hit the green. It's a predecessor. Whereas before, in the strokes gained off the tee category, you do not need to hit the fairway to gain strokes off of the tee. So thought I'd make that a point there. Okay, let's move on to strokes gained putting, which also has a terribly high, or not terribly high, that's probably the wrong idiosyncrasy there. It has a extremely high correlation to putts per GIR. It's Charles Schwartzel had a great week. Lee Westwood, Scott Stallings, Vaughn Taylor, Sam Burns, Patton Kazire, and Brandon Hagee. And then for putts per GIR, Charles, no surprise, Schwartzel, Matt Hughes, Mark Hubbard, Brian Stewart, Robbie Shelton, and Vaughn Taylor, along with Scott Stallings. So, again, tons of crossover there. All right, our last section here for me to wrap up on, and then I'll go into right about 10 minutes. So pretty good. I'm not bad. I'm getting okay at the timing thing here. Top birdie review, Sung J Im and Mac Hughes, who were playing together on Sunday, both had 19 birdies for the tournament. Not for Sunday, obviously. Tommy Fleetwood and Mark Hubbard came in with 18, and there was a big drop-off. Dan Berger, Gary Woodland, Robbie Shelton, Charles Schwartzel, and Brandon Hagee had 14, while Palmer, Rogers, Hickok, Lowry, Walker, Taylor, that's Vaughn Taylor, Grayson Murray, Wyndham Clark also was the last one. Wyndham Clark had 1 eagle and 13 birdies, so I counted that as 14 birdies. So maybe gives you a couple of names there that you want to take a look at. Mark Hubbard had 18. Maybe someone to look at this week. Jimmy Walker seems to be in form to the most part. 14 birdies for him last week, so a couple of names, again, to keep an eye on as we move forward. And moving forward, right on cue, there's the Arnold Palmer Invitational this week. And it is an invitational, so if this is your first go-about with it or first little go-about with it, we just saw one at the Genesis a couple of weeks ago where we get the we get a 125-man field where the top 65 guys on the weekend will make the weekend. And we have seen that 5-guy cutoff, where it used to be top 70, we have seen that come into play quite a bit, not going to lie. So wouldn't be surprised to see that come up again. So we are playing at Bay Hill this week. It has 4 par 3s, 10 par 4s, and 4 par 5s. So it's a par 72 measuring just about 7,400 yards. So maybe mediocre, right in the average in terms of size of the golf course. All the par 5s are gettable, especially that one on the backside. There's barely any trouble. That's, I believe, the 16th hole, if I remember off the top of my head. You really need to birdie that hole, maybe even eagle. It's one of the easiest holes on. It is the easiest hole on the course, and famously, Tiger Woods hooked it out of bounds here as he was coming down the stretch a couple of years ago and had a chance to win. So certainly take advantage of the par 5s. The other cool one on the front side, if this is your first go-about with Bay Hill, they've got one on the front side that measures about 440 yards from tee to green, but from tee to green, it is all lake. And so it bends around the lake and takes you out. John Daly famously tried to go for the green a couple of times in a row, and I think he made a 12 on the hole. It has not ever really been driven, but we'd love to see Champ go out and give it a try or give it as much muster as he's got if they do get a downwind. The other ones measure 560 yards and 580 yards. Still, both of them pretty much gettable. On the par 4 side, none over 475 yards. One over 475 yards. So the par 4s are relatively short, but par 3s, on the other hand, all over 200 yards. So that's where it's getting a little bit of its beef from. And on some of those par 4s as well, especially down the back half of the front side and leading into the back 9, it gets pretty tight there. So it's more about position than it is about brute strength off the tee. But of course, a couple of holes, there'll be golfers that can hit it a long way will be able to use that to their advantage. So who's playing here this week and what are the qualifications? Well, first it's the majors. They get the first one, or winners of the past, winners of this event that are current members. And then, of course, you get the winners of the other invitationals, which is the Memorial and the Genesis. Then you get the regular tour winners. Then it comes random. Then it's Ryder Cup, President's Cup, top 50 in the world that haven't already qualified. 2 lifetime members here this week, Davis Love and Vijay Singh. 18 sponsor exemptions this week. Then top 70 to fill it out, top 70 on the FedEx Cup for the prior year. And then top 70 on the FedEx Cup for this year. So that rounds out the field of 126 players. Of those, 5 of the top 10 in the world are here to compete, including Rory McIlroy, Patrick Reed, Brooks Koepka, Tommy Fleetwood, and then 10 of the top 20 are here, so 50%, including guys like Xander Schauffele and the alike. So a pretty good field for all intents and purposes coming here to play this week in Orlando, just outside of Disney World. In fact, if you want to know, in case I'll give you a little fun fact, it's actually much closer to Universal than it is Orlando. In fact, if you're going to the event, you'll probably be parking at Universal and they shuttle you over. At least one of the days they do that, I think over the weekend when it gets super busy. So plenty of, like I said, plenty of the top 20 in the world are here. And in fact, a ton of the top 100 in the world are here. 59 in fact, and that's because it's the invitational status. All of those, I'm not going to call them middling tour pros, but all of those golfers that are ranked, call it 60 and above, 60 to 100, they want to play in this because if they win it, which likely you're not going to find too many winners out of that bracket, it's a big time win for those guys. And obviously getting the 3-year status exemption for a win for an invitational. So certainly something to keep note of. All right, we are coming down to the last half where I go over my prices from DraftKings. Then I give you some stats to look at for the week. And last week, we were able to highlight a couple of really important ones. And those are the stats that I talk about with Matt Jones at Matt Jones TFR on Twitter tomorrow night on the show. Stats with Matt. So let's first go over my field prices, though. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Right off the top, pretty easy. I mean, if they don't put Rory up top, then I'm quitting everything that I do. It'll be Rory up top. I'm going to go 11.8. I've tried to push the 12K number to Rory this year, and it's not working. Either DraftKings isn't listening, or their algorithm just doesn't want a 12K golfer. So fine, so be it. He'll be at 11.8. I suspect Tommy Fleetwood, after the 4th place finish and the top price tag, to be number 2 above Brooks, the Ghost Koepka. I got him coming in at 10.6, even as bad as he played. I think they price him above Matsuyama. Now, I guess I'm just going off historical for this, but Matsuyama's playing really well. So maybe they put Matsuyama at 10.6. Koepka not playing well. They probably put him at 10.3. And then Patrick Reed coming off of a win. I've got him at 10.1. Maybe I'm a little overzealous with Patrick Reed, but I think that the books are probably done getting burned by him at 40 and 50 to 1, and we'll start to price him in that 20 or 30 range, which is more or less likely to get Patrick Reed up into the 5-digit range for DraftKings. So I think the run of getting Patrick Reed at value prices is probably over for a little while, and now it'll become tougher to play him until he gets back down to that value range. And funny enough, that's kind of been the theme with him is, he'll win in that value range, they'll price him back up, and then he won't perform up there. So certainly something maybe to keep an eye on. It'll be interesting to see his Masters price, winning that a couple of years ago. So it'll be interesting to see there. Okay, so this next part, when I look at stats, the first thing I want to look at is the approach distances and where they're going to be hitting most of their golf shots from this week. And honestly, at a 7,500 yard course with 4 par 5s, it's no surprise, but there's actually not a ton of disparity. Golfers are going to have to be pretty much good from everywhere. Maybe a little bit more emphasis on over 200 yards. That seemed to be the highest average of all of them. The lowest number of 200-yard shots was 15 last year, and that's no surprise since there are 12 par 5s. You're almost guaranteed to have 12 shots from over 200 yards. 4 par 5s, obviously. I'm sorry, 16. See, look at my math here late in the day. That's what happened that's what happens when you're watching the Honda Classic and you're sweating it out. You grind it out with those guys as well. You're guaranteed to get 16. So I apologize. And the reason why somebody had 14 was that par 5 on the backside that I mentioned. I believe it's the 16th hole. You can have way under 200 yards in on that hole. So, like I said, lowest was 14, highest was 23. So you're going to get a bunch of shots from above that 200-yard range. So look for guys that are very good with their long irons or hybrids. That will be important this week. Other couple of things. First, these greens are pretty average in size, so I wouldn't suspect scrambling to be that important. What I do want to look at, though, is putting from 15 to 20 feet. It seems to be at this course we get a lot of those, especially with of course, with the 4 par 5s as well. We know that we're going to get plenty of wedge chances, if nothing else. So putting from 15 to 20 feet, I believe, very important this week. And, of course, I will have Matt verify that or maybe give me a couple of more stats to look at. Of course, with winners like Rory McIlroy over the last couple of years, strokes gained tee to green will be important. But when I do a little bit of a deeper search on these winners, Francesco Molinari last year did it off the tee. Matt Every, along with Roy McIlroy and the alike, did it on the approach, whereas Jason Day back in 2016 did it around the green. So it really even clouded the judgment a little bit more. It just shows that it takes an all-around game here to win at Bay Hill. Of course, there's the iconic 18th hole with the famed bricked siding green that provides just a really difficult finishing hole and could provide for some definite fireworks down the stretch. The course is great, the field is great, and the DraftKings, looks like I forgot that one section, and the DraftKings prizes look good. They just posted their top three, $150K to first for the $5, $100K to first this week for the $44, whereas the $444 is also, of course, offering that $100K to first. But they boost up the $44 prize pool and the $5 prize pool, probably from the better, probably from the little bit of the better field that we're seeing. So until tomorrow night, where I will go break down those sponsors exemptions, the field changes if we have any, and a couple of more things. Of course, the prices that I just told you. I'm going to give you some opening odds and salary discussion as well before I bring on Matt Jones. So till then, everybody, come check out the first cut already live on Awesemo.com right now. And of course, please remember to like and subscribe to the pod so that you can get updated right when I go over it. And of course, we'll be coming out with some great content in the next couple of weeks and a few new things as well. So stay tuned for some new content coming up in the next week or so. That I'm sure you guys will love, especially with these big-time showdown contests that are coming and are on the horizon as well. You might want to pay attention to that if that's your forte. So until then, or until next time, everybody, until tomorrow night with Matt on Shot 3 from the Tee, this will be it for me on the Opening Tee podcast. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.